Some names are whispered through history, fading like echoes in a vast canyon. But one name thunders across the ages: Alexander. His legend is not just remembered, it is felt, reverberating through centuries, inspiring awe and curiosity in every generation that hears it. He was not just a king or a general, but a force of nature, a young man who, before reaching the age of 30, carved his name into the very fabric of the world. Alexander's ambition was boundless, his vision stretching far beyond the borders of Macedonia, reaching into lands unknown and hearts unclaimed. His story is more than a chronicle of battles and conquests. It's a legend woven from prophecy, genius, ambition, and a shadow that sometimes darkened his brightest triumphs. Alexander was believed to be chosen by the gods, his destiny foretold in whispers and omens, his every step watched by those who wondered if he was mortal or something more. Alexander chased the horizon, believing he could touch the gods themselves. He was driven by a hunger that could not be satisfied, a desire to see what lay beyond the next mountain, the next river, the next empire. For him, the world was not enough. He sought to transcend it. What drove him? Was it the lure of power, the weight of destiny, or an insatiable curiosity that refused to rest? His journey is a puzzle, each piece more dramatic and enigmatic than the last, challenging us to understand the mind behind the myth. To truly understand Alexander, we must travel back in time, feel the scorching Persian sun on our skin, hear the thunderous clash of swords, and sense the myth being forged in the heat of battle. We must walk the same roads, face the same dangers, and witness the birth of a legend. The legend of Alexander began long before he ever drew a sword. It was born in the halls of kings, in the dreams of his mother Olympias, and in the prophecies that promised greatness. Before the world knew his name, destiny was already calling him forward. In 356 BC, a child was born in Pella, Alexander, son of King Philip and Olympias. Legends swirled. The temple of Artemis burned the night he was born, and Olympias claimed Zeus himself fathered her son. Alexander grew up believing he was destined for greatness, a demigod among mortals. Omens and prophecies followed him, fueling a sense of invincibility and purpose. The boy from Pella was ready to be molded into the man who would change history. King Philip knew his son needed more than strength, he needed wisdom. He summoned Aristotle, the greatest mind in Greece, to educate Alexander. In the groves of Mieza, Aristotle taught him politics, science, and the art of leadership. Alexander became both a man of logic and a romantic hero. Inspired by Achilles and armed with the philosopher's mind, he slept with the Iliad under his pillow, seeing himself as a new Achilles. This duality, pragmatist and dreamer, became the key to his genius. Aristotle had not just educated a prince, he had armed a conqueror. Alexander's first test came with a wild stallion, Bucephalus. While others failed, Alexander calmed the horse by turning it from its shadow, then rode it triumphantly. King Philip declared, "Macedon is too small for you." Bucephalus became Alexander's companion in every major battle. At 16, Alexander crushed a Thracian revolt and founded Alexandropolis, proving himself a leader and city builder. He was already a warrior and a founder of cities. The story of Bucephalus became a symbol of his ability to master the impossible. The prince was ready to be a king. In 336 BC, King Philip was assassinated and chaos erupted. At 20, Alexander seized the throne, eliminating rivals with ruthless speed. Greek city-states rebelled, but Alexander crushed them, raising Thebes as a warning. His message was clear: defy me and be destroyed. In a swift, bloody campaign, he reasserted Macedonian dominance over Greece. He proved himself more ruthless and decisive than his father. With Greece at his feet, he turned his gaze east. The invasion of Persia could begin. In the spring of 334 BC, a young and ambitious Alexander the Great led his Macedonian army across the Hellespont, stepping onto the soil of Asia for the first time. Before him lay the vast and powerful Persian Empire, a realm that had dominated the known world for centuries. Alexander's crossing was more than a military maneuver. It was a declaration of intent, a bold challenge to the might of Persia and its legendary king, Darius III. The fate of empires now hung in the balance as the Macedonians advanced into unfamiliar lands, driven by their leader's vision of conquest and glory. At the banks of the Granicus River, Alexander faced his first true test. Against overwhelming odds, he personally led a daring cavalry charge straight into the heart of the Persian lines. The battle was fierce and chaotic, but Alexander's courage and tactical genius turned the tide. His victory at Granicus was not just a triumph of arms, but a statement to the world. The Macedonian king was a force to be reckoned with, and his campaign had only just begun. The next great clash came at Issus, where Alexander once again faced King Darius himself. With fearless determination, Alexander led his troops in a direct assault, charging straight at the Persian king. The sight of Alexander's relentless advance shattered Persian morale, and Darius, overwhelmed by the ferocity of the attack, fled the battlefield, leaving his army in disarray. This victory sent shockwaves across the ancient world, proving that even the mighty Persian king could be humbled. The final and most decisive confrontation came at Gaugamela. Here, Alexander faced Darius's massive forces on open plains, outnumbered but undaunted. Through brilliant tactics and flawless execution, Alexander outmaneuvered Darius once more, breaking the Persian lines and shattering the heart of the empire. The once invincible Persian army was routed, and the empire itself began to crumble. Each battle revealed not only Alexander's tactical brilliance but also his personal courage and charisma. He fought alongside his men, inspiring loyalty and fearlessness, and his reputation as a military genius grew with every victory. With Darius in flight and the Persian royal treasures captured, Alexander was hailed as the new great king of Asia. The ancient world watched in awe as the Macedonian conqueror claimed the throne of Persia, fulfilling a destiny that seemed impossible just years before. No longer just a Macedonian king, Alexander had become a world conqueror, his empire stretching from Greece to the far reaches of Asia. His name echoed across continents, and his ambitions seemed limitless. The world's greatest empire had fallen before his ambition and skill. The ancient capitals of Persia now lay in ruins, their treasures and glory claimed by the Macedonian king. With every victory, Alexander's legend grew. Stories of his exploits spread far and wide, inspiring awe and fear in equal measure. He became a symbol of unstoppable ambition and military genius. The road to immortality was now open before him. Alexander's name would be remembered for centuries, not just as a conqueror, but as a legend who changed the course of history forever. After Issus, Alexander turned to Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator. He respected Egyptian gods and founded Alexandria, destined to become a center of culture and learning. Seeking divine confirmation, he journeyed to the oracle of Siwa. There he was greeted as the son of Amun, reinforcing his belief in his own divinity. Alexander began to see himself as a god on earth, not just a king. This new identity inspired awe but also alienated his Macedonian followers. The liberator of Egypt was becoming something more, and something more dangerous. With the mighty Persian Empire and the ancient land of Egypt now under his control, Alexander the Great set his sights even further east, determined to push the boundaries of his empire into the mysterious and uncharted territories of Central Asia and India. His ambition seemed limitless, and his army followed him into lands few Greeks had ever seen. As Alexander advanced, he encountered fierce resistance. The terrain became increasingly unforgiving. Towering mountains, deep river valleys, and arid plains tested the endurance of his men. Local tribes used guerrilla tactics, striking from the shadows and vanishing into the wild, making every step forward a struggle. The Macedonian army, once unstoppable, now faced not only external enemies but also the relentless challenges of nature itself. In an effort to unite his vast new empire, Alexander began adopting Persian customs and dress, even encouraging intermarriage between his soldiers and local women. But these changes unsettled his loyal Macedonian officers, who saw their traditions slipping away. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, eventually boiling over into open conflict and violence within his own ranks. The campaign reached its climax at the banks of the Hydaspes River, where Alexander faced King Porus and his formidable war elephants. The battle was brutal and chaotic, with thunderous charges and desperate hand-to-hand combat. Though Alexander emerged victorious, the cost was staggering. Many of his men lay dead or wounded, and the survivors were weary and demoralized. Pushing deeper into India, Alexander dreamed of reaching the world's farthest edge, but his army, battered by years of campaigning, monsoon rains, and unfamiliar jungles, could go no further. Exhausted and longing for home, his soldiers finally refused to march on, staging a mutiny that forced Alexander to abandon his quest for further conquest. Reluctantly, Alexander turned back. The journey home was no less perilous. He led his men through the deadly Gedrosian Desert, a vast wasteland of scorching heat and endless sand. Thousands perished from thirst, starvation, and exhaustion, their bones left behind as silent witnesses to the cost of ambition. At last, Alexander stood at the edge of the known world, gazing out at lands that stretched beyond the reach of any map. Here, he confronted not only the physical limits of his empire, but also the limits of his own power and mortality. The invincible conqueror, who had never been defeated in battle, was finally stopped, not by an enemy army, but by the exhaustion of his own men and the sheer vastness of the world itself. In the end, even Alexander had to accept that some frontiers could not be crossed. In 323 BC, Alexander returned to Babylon, planning new conquests. Suddenly, he fell ill and died at just 32. His last words, "To the strongest." The cause of his death remains a mystery. Disease or poison, no one knows. His body vanished, his tomb lost to history. The man who conquered the world disappeared, leaving behind a legacy as powerful and mysterious as his life. Alexander became not just a legend, but a myth that endures to this day.